Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of My Dog Ate My Podcast. I'm your host, Emily, and every week I chat with a different dog owner about their dog. This week I'm chatting with Danielle, who you might recognize as owner of Nova the Doberman, but this week we're chatting about her 13-year-old Shiba, Jiro. Please enjoy.
You're fending off a cat here, by the way.
I'm like, that's not Jiro.
No, you missed him screaming about Karma being in her crate by like 30 seconds.
Was she too close to him?
She's in her crate. He walked
Was her...
You're here.
Oh, that's okay. I think Rue might just be barking in the background for this one too, because she has decided that it is currently bark at the air time.
Yeah, I mean, isn't every time bark at the air time?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's jump into Jiro then.
Oh boy.
So he's 13.
Yep.
How old was he when you got him?
He was 8 weeks old. He was a little terror.
And what was he like as a puppy?
It's so funny. I tell people that Shibas are like the perfect puppies and the worst adults because he was like the perfect puppy. He never had an accident in the house. He loved everybody. He was like sweet as can be. And then he turned 18 months and he was like, fuck everybody.
And that's when... So you had your previous Shiba, whose name I'm completely blanking on.
Sachi.
You had your... Sachi. Yeah, you had Sachi then, right? Until he was how old?
So Jiro was... I'm trying to think how old Jiro was when I got Sachi, because Sachi was a rescue from like a really weird like breeder situation. But she was like 5 and he was... I think he was like 3 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was younger than her.
And he got along with her?
Yeah, because she would basically not take his shit. It was hilarious.
From 18 months to 3, who were Jiro's friends? who put up with him?
I had at the time 2 Dobermans, Kano and Freya, and then we fostered a lot of dogs because that was like early in my rescue days, or earlier than now anyways. We would get a lot of fosters, and so he was around mostly Dobermans, quite honestly. And one of his best friends in the whole world was, ironically, a red male Doberman named Max. He loved him. Now if Jiro meets another male dog, he's like, I got to attack it.
Okay, so he's made friends with some fosters. He kind of got along with Sachi by her not putting up with his shit.
Yeah.
And then he just is kind of like doing his own thing.
Yeah, and he would play with Sachi sometimes because she was kind of weird. Like she lived her life in a cage, and so by the time she got to me, she was just like, I don't know what life is. So she was a little weirdo, but that I guess worked for him because she mostly kept to herself, and then she'd have bursts of playtime, which is also kind of how he is. And so that was all fine. She passed away a couple years ago from cancer, and like those last couple years, they were still totally fine. I don't know what it was. He just liked her. I guess it's like that Shiba to Shiba energy, maybe. But he'd still scream at her, and then she would just turn around and like try to bite his face, and that was the end of that.
You say Shiba to Shiba energy, but he is not really taken to Hanako, right?
He has moments, like if it's on his terms, he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And so I've seen him play with her outside a couple times, but she has no off switch because she's a puppy. So he's like, enough. Even Fendi's getting tired of her shit at this point. So.
Oh no. I think you've told me this, but I guess for the podcast purposes,
Yeah.
Remind me how you ended up getting Jiro in the first place.
Yeah, so I had he was a Whippet, this is like the weirdest mix, Whippet German Shepherd Terrier mix. His name was Jin, and he was like 5 years old, and my ex-husband and I, like, he was just kind of our whole world, him and Kano, that's all we had at the time. He ended up passing away rather suddenly from a flesh-eating disease. Like, it was awful. I mean, we were in and out of Blue Pearl and like taking him, it was not fun. And when he passed away, his energy was, I want to say, like a little bit more similar to a Shiba, and I'd always wanted one. My ex-husband, he kind of always wanted one too because he was Korean, and it was the closest he was going to get to a Jindo. So so we decided after Jin passed away, I kind of went through this, like, if I don't plan for the next one now, like I'm not going to, because that was the first dog I lost as an adult, and it was rough. And it was the first dog my ex-husband had ever lost, because it was like his first dog ever. So we both kind of went through this like weird thing. So we did our research. There wasn't a Shiba rescue around. The closest one is really in Florida, and I help them out sometimes when a random Shiba pops up here, but otherwise it doesn't happen much. So we looked into breeders, found like a really reputable breeder in South Carolina, and went out to see her, saw the dogs, put down a deposit, and then he came about, I want to say like 6 to 8 months later or so,
Mhm.
right before our wedding.
Did you pick him out from amongst his other siblings, or did you get to choose him?
No, he was the only puppy in the litter, which I guess is relatively common for Shibas. And so the breeder typically tried to plan like two litters around the same time because they're smaller and then they could socialize. So he was like, the brother from another mother of like three other puppies that came from another
Oh,
litter. But I remember when I went to go pick him up, it was like just before 8 weeks because we were going out of town and it would have been a thing. And I was like, is this going to be okay? Because, I know he needs socialization. And like, I should have known when the breeder said, oh, he's so full of himself, he'll be absolutely fine. And like, that should have been a red flag.
and then walk me through a day in his life besides a lot of yelling
Yeah,
and
a lot of
screaming.
So he's the only dog that's not allowed to sleep in the bedroom anymore because otherwise he screams every time another dog moves. So when it's breakfast time, if I am late for breakfast, God forbid, like, and I'm not talking like an hour late, I'm talking like 10 minutes late. I have ruggables all around the house. So there's like the bottom part and the top part. He will peel back all the top parts of all the ruggables all around the house. Like he doesn't destroy anything, but it's just annoying enough to get his point across. And so he eats breakfast. He's the only one who doesn't eat in a crate because he's just like been a jerk about being in a crate. So he doesn't get crated anymore. Then he kind of like hangs out all day. I work from home, so I'm usually around, but he doesn't hang out with me. He's usually in one of the dog beds downstairs barking at anybody who's delivering anything or walking past the house or driving past the house, screaming at all the other dogs in their crates when he walks past them, screaming at the cats for existing. So a lot of screaming. Yeah, we go outside to play a couple times. He likes to sunbathe and he likes to just like wander around the yard and chew on grass. Like he doesn't really do anything. He gets so excited to go outside and then he doesn't do shit. And then dinner time is very similar to breakfast time. If I am late, all my rugs are pulled up. And then the rest of the evening, like right now, he's actually right here next to me, chewing on a bone. The other dogs are all crated for usually an hour after they eat because most of them are Dobermans, so bloat, and so he gets sort of free run and like quiet time around the house, and he just kind of like chills. And then at bedtime, he's in bed before anybody else is in bed. He's often like a dog bed asleep.
And has he always been like that?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he doesn't have the energy he used to, of course, because he's older. So when he was younger, he would be a little bit more rambunctious, playful. Every now and then, he'll get like super excited about something and want to play fetch. And so whenever he wants to do like something happy, I oblige. So we'll play and he'll run around and do whatever. Yeah, he knows a bunch of commands too. And of all my dogs, he is the by far the most consistent in behaving himself and like knowing to sit when he goes outside and sit when he comes back in and sit for his food. Like I don't have to ask him; he just does it. My other dogs act like they've never heard that command before in their lives. He's like, six times today. So he's such a good dog. He's just a jerk.
He's just angry. And how does he do with guests in your house?
I always tell people, I'm like, you're going to be able to pet him for the first like 20 seconds you're in the house because he's going to be really excited you're here for about 45 seconds. And then he's going to be like, why are they still here? And I said, just ignore him from that point on because he's not interested. He does not want to be pet. He does not want you here. So he's fine with them. He
Oh,
doesn't like bark at them or anything. But if they continue to pet him, he'll do the whole like growl escalate into a screaming fit thing. So yeah,
yeah.
I warn people about because people don't listen because they're like, "Oh, but he's so soft and fluffy," and I'm like, "He's gonna scream at you, and you're gonna freak out because you're gonna think he's gonna try to bite you. He's not. He's just gonna scream."
And I feel like we've talked about this before. Do you have to groom him, or what does that look like?
Oh God, I should groom him. I used to groom him. So I did a lot of work with him as a puppy because he was a show dog, and I had to groom him. Right, I had to bathe him. I had to do his nails. I had to brush him. Brushing him now is like trying to brush a bear. I don't. I just let his coat look like shit for 6 months out of the year, honestly, because I can't. He just screams and snarls and flails. Doing his nails is really easy because I trained. I mean, I worked with him from the time that he was like, 8 weeks old. I started dremeling his nails, and he doesn't like it, but he tolerates it. And I pick him up. Well, he screams when I pick him up, and then I put him in my lap with his like back against my chest and his legs all out, and I just dremel his nails, and he just sits there and like he only gets mad if another dog comes within probably about 3 feet and then he flips out. I haven't given him a bath in a while because I honestly haven't had to, but I used to have to bathe him all the time before shows. He hates it. He kind of like tolerates it. It's always the picking up that he really gets pissed off about and screams about. And
Mhm.
that's fine. But brushing, I just don't even bother anymore. He just loses his shit.
I mean, that's why we had to find a place like for River that does Shibas. Like, are you good with Shibas? Do you know what you're getting into? Okay, here's our credit card. Please give him a bath. Because we tried to do that at home, and oh my god, he screamed so
Yeah.
loud.
You think that you're murder? I'm like, it's water. You're fine.
And does he have a very curly tail, or like does his tail curl up all the way, or is it kind of looser? What kind of tail does he have?
His tail does curl. I remember when he was older and like was sort of turning into himself and like was looking like a dog and not a potato. And his breeder was laughing because his tail, like it curls up over, but the way the fur is, it's like really like sticks out a lot, so it's like fiery.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Oh, that suits his personality." And I'm like, "Oh no."
Oh my gosh. Because the reason I ask is like, because with River, at least, people like to uncurl his tail without his consent, and that will lead him to scream. Like one time we were at trivia, and then suddenly River's just like, ah! And we're like, what happened? And then our friend was like, oh, I tried to uncurl his tail, and he didn't like that. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. You didn't ask for permission
Right.
to undo the cinnamon roll.
That's his whole identity right there. You're
Yeah.
trying to undo who he is.
Yeah, but it's just so funny, just the random things. It's like, I'm just gonna I just want to touch it and uncurl it, and then he just does not like that.
Yeah, they're just
But
temperamental. They all have their really weird quirks.
what do you imagine that his internal voice sounds like?
Well, I hear his external voice so much, I feel like it sounds a whole lot like that. At this point, like a crotchety, angry old Southern man. Like that's how like get off my lawn, sitting on their
Yeah.
porch in the rocking chair with a gun in their lap. Like that's Jiro's inner voice.
Have you ever had neighbors say anything about I mean, I don't know how close your neighbors are to you, but has anybody ever said anything about the Shiba screams?
No, I don't. I can't think of anything. I'm trying to remember about like when I lived in Seattle, where my neighbors were way closer, but they were also like we never. I don't think we spoke more than once the 4 years I lived next to them. So no, no. They
Mhm.
never, oh no, I had one neighbor. One side of my neighbors, they were Japanese, and so they recognized that he was a Shiba, and so they asked me about him, and the girl was like, "Can I pet him?" And I was like, "Not really." I was like, "I would love to let you. He's kind of a jerk." So
Yeah.
that was about it. But they commented about how cute and pretty he was, but nobody ever commented about his screaming. And then where I live now, I'm like far enough away from my neighbors where like nobody can really hear him scream.
No, nobody's like, "Hey, we called CPS on your house because it sounds like a
Maybe a child.
angry child." Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be convinced that I'm like keeping a child in a basement somewhere because where is that screaming coming from? Like, no, no, it really is my dog.
Have you fostered any other Shibas, like,
I
while
have.
you've had Jiro? And how has he gotten along with them?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a little while since I fostered another Shiba because, like I said, I help out that rescue in Florida, but it's pretty rare that we get Shibas around here. I think I've fostered probably maybe three, ironically, all males.
Oh.
I don't, I think we mostly kept him separated. I don't think I've had a male Shiba foster here since I moved back to Georgia. But before that, we generally kept him separated because of the fact that they were males. Because when we would show him, he was usually okay with the female Shibas, but the other
Mhm.
male Shibas, like they would all be trying to kill each other. It's super fun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah, it makes more sense than it should. What do you imagine, like, his theme song would be?
I've actually thought about this before. He's one of the few dogs that I have not assigned a theme song to, but it would probably be some sort of like hardcore drill rap or gangster rap, like something really hard and heavy. That's just like that or something like heavy metal screamy because he's just I mean, he fits
Yelling?
in with the heavy metal screamy, so
Oh, but he seems so cute. I know it's very deceptive.
he's and like if you just respect everything that he wants in his life, which is not really convenient and possible all the time, then he's like the best dog. But then if you want him to be a member of your household, he is a pain in the ass.
So which dog did all the Dobermans that you have right now, you
Mhm.
got after you already had Jiro, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So how did he do sort of as you gradually introduced more permanent family members?
I think like part of him, like what one thing his inner voice probably just says every time is like, "Oh God, here we go again." Like
Mhm.
he just kind of deals with it. He's to his credit, he's very good at setting boundaries. Those boundaries are usually unrealistic and ridiculous, but he sets them and he's good about it. And so when Nova was a puppy, for example, she's learning and she's trying to play with him. And I think it only took one or two screams from him, and she was like, "All right, let's stay away from that thing."
Mhm.
He doesn't really change that much. He's usually screaming more because like dogs are kind of trying to get all around him more. But yeah, he just kind of exists. He doesn't really seem to care. I think he's used to it.
And then the last question that I have is, do you have any like interesting or funny stories about Jiro, or any like quirky things that he's done?
I think like one of the things that I find funniest about him is when I'll take him out in public. He is by far the best dog at a restaurant that I could ever ask for. I can sit him in a chair at a table and he will just sit in the chair at the table. And I'll like put a menu in front of him and like he's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'm here. And he just hangs out. He does not care, does not try to get the food off the table, doesn't care about the waiter or anybody that comes over. He just chills. And so there was a time that I was in Chattanooga for a dog show, and I had a friend with me, and we went out for lunch. And so we stopped at this restaurant that had like seating outside, and there was the main road and like a sidewalk right next to it, right? So like I just sat Jiro in the chair. I don't think we were able to even finish our meal. So many people had to stop by and see him and like talk to him and pet him. And he like that's the only time where he will let anybody pet him for any extended amount of time. He's just like, okay, yeah, I'm talking about you. I know he's right here now.
So just when he's like at a restaurant at the table is when he's okay.
Yeah, he's like the weirdest dog. I mean, I don't really understand it myself, but yeah, he's just chilling.
That's so bizarre. He's like, I'm people here, so it's okay.
Like I said, doesn't even try to eat the food off the table or anything. He's just like, cool.
River would at least just like look and just be really sad and kind of look at the food and look at you and look at the food and look at you and be like, please let me have some food. So Jiro / your rescue shout out. Well, there's Georgia Doberman Rescue, your rescue, and then the Shiba Inu Rescue of Florida. What is the Shiba Inu Rescue of Florida's like domain? Like, does that include Georgia or is it mostly just Florida?
I think it's mostly Florida. I believe they've adopted to like southern Georgia before. I know that they'd probably adopt me if I asked them to, but like and one of the board members I think has moved like into North Georgia and the North Georgia mountains, so they might adopt to Atlanta or the surrounding area now. But previously it was just Florida.
Okay, cool. Well, don't give Nick any ideas, or do. I don't know. At this point, I don't know. Well, we'll have to get you to do episodes for all the other dogs as well. I'm just gonna get you to keep on coming.
Yeah,
it's fine.
A season dedicated to my house.
You know, that wouldn't be too difficult. And then we'll eventually get to we'll do Hanako last. But yeah, thank you for doing this again. And thank you to Jiro for putting up with it.
Would you like me to try and pick him up and have him say hi?
Yes, please. Yes.
There will be screaming. Hold on. I know, it's for Emily. I know.
Oh.
I know. I know. I know. I know.
Oh my god. I love him so much. All right, let me stop recording. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget that you can listen to, watch, and subscribe to My Dog Ate My Podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. And if you're in the Georgia or Florida area and interested in adopting your next dog, you can check out the Georgia Doberman Rescue, which is Danielle's rescue, or the Shiba Inu Rescue of Florida. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.